On October 14, 2025, Microsoft ended support for Windows 10, leaving 400 million PCs open to attack. These devices contain bank information and personal photos, and as soon as hackers find a way in, it's all going to be stolen. The problem is, Microsoft is still making updates for 3 more years for their business clients. They are doing the work, but they're choosing not.
This is the story of how Microsoft's Windows 11 became one of the slowest adopted operating systems in the company's history, despite having a former chairman who still reviews every major product decision. Bill Gates may have left Microsoft's board in 2020, but according to insiders, his advice is still treated as gospel and sought out every time the company makes a major change. Yet, somehow, Windows 11 has managed to alienate millions of users, create a potential environmental disaster, and turn AI features into something people actively want to remove from their computers. The adoption crisis. The numbers tell a story Microsoft really doesn't want you to hear. October 5th, 2021 was the release date for Windows 11, which means the operating system has been available for over 4 years now. And as of December 2025, it holds just 53.7% of the Windows market. Nearly half of all Windows users are still refusing to upgrade after more than 4 years. Dell's chief operating officer, Jeffrey Clark, didn't mince words during an analyst call when he said, "If you were to look at it relative to the previous OS end of support, we are 10 to 12 points behind at that point with Windows 11 than we were with the previous generation." That's not a small gap, that's a massive adoption problem that should have Microsoft executives sweating. Throughout 2025, the market share for Windows 11 actually fluctuated in ways that must have terrified the company. The first time it overtook Windows 10, hitting 51.77%, which meant someone at Microsoft probably popped champagne, and Windows 11 dipped from its high of 53.51% down to 49.08%, and the growth just stalled. The hardware wall.
There seems to be a trend emerging from the European Union recently where they just basically are trying to get rid of everything that is not being made in the EU. And this also means software, and this generally means Microsoft products are being phased out by individual municipalities or federal states or organizations. This is
Tom's Hardware reported that millions of systems running on older Intel platforms are perfectly capable of running Windows 11, but they're blocked solely because of the CPU generation requirement. These machines have i7 processors, SSDs, and plenty of RAM, and they're not ancient computers that can't handle modern software. They're being artificially excluded. The result is a potential environmental disaster, as millions of functional PCs could end up being thrown away because Microsoft drew an arbitrary line. Microsoft has been cracking down on workarounds with real aggression. February 2025 saw them remove official workaround instructions from their support pages. Microsoft Defender started flagging bypass tools as potentially unwanted applications. And recently, the company added desktop watermarks and pop-ups for unsupported Windows 11 installations. The recall disaster. Hardware requirements aren't the only controversy, and that's when we need to talk about recall. Recall is an AI-powered feature that takes screenshots of your screen every few seconds, then uses optical character recognition and AI to create a searchable timeline of everything you've ever done on your PC. May 2024 brought the announcement, and the plan was to launch it in June 2024. Except security researchers immediately raised alarms, and Microsoft delayed the launch. The initial version saved all your data to a plaintext database that could be easily stolen, which meant an ethical hacker named Alexander Hagener could develop a tool called Total Recall that extracted everything from the recall database. Security experts described it as a potential security nightmare, which forced Microsoft to go back and rebuild the entire thing. The current version comes with encryption and biometric authentication, which sounds better until you learn what independent testing revealed. Avram Pilch at the Register found that the sensitive information filter still captures credit card numbers in some contexts, bank account balances, social security numbers, passwords, if they're not explicitly labeled as passwords and usernames in login portals. And here's the kicker that nobody saw coming. You can't even fully uninstall Recall because Microsoft said it was a bug when the option to uninstall appeared, which means you can only disable it. But wait, there's more irony to pile on because Recall only works on Copilot Plus PCs, which as of early 2025 made up less than 2% of all Windows laptops sold. Microsoft created this massive privacy controversy over a feature that almost nobody can even use, the copilot catastrophe.
Many of you now know that there are several headwinds that demand to be addressed with regards to Windows and Mac OS, and the solution is to use Linux. Just to remind you of these headwinds, many of you on Windows 10 are about to lose support from Microsoft and will be forced to migrate to Windows 11 starting on October 14, 2024.
Copilot is Microsoft's AI assistant that they've integrated into seemingly every aspect of Windows 11, and users are not happy. Reports keep flooding in about slower boot times, higher memory usage, the Copilot pane popping up unexpectedly, and app hangs. But the real problem isn't performance, it's that Copilot just doesn't work very well. November 2025 brought a Microsoft ad that went viral for all the wrong reasons, because the ad showed Copilot failing to help a user change text size, which meant Microsoft was advertising their AI assistant by showing it fail. January 2026 gave us a programmer named Ryan Fleury who posted a video showing Copilot search suggestion returning 0 results, and also in January 2026, another viral clip showed Copilot freezing on Microsoft's own suggested query. That clip racked up over 4 million views, and Windows leadership had to lock their social media replies after announcing new agentic features because the backlash was so severe. People are actively trying to remove this stuff from their computers. A tool called Winslop has been created specifically to detect and remove EII functionality from Windows 11, and the nickname Microslop started trending on social media. When CEO Satya Nadella discouraged use of the term, it had the opposite effect, which tells you everything you need to know about user sentiment. One user on Microsoft's Q&A forums wrote something that should alarm the entire company when he said, "While we, the end users, use this OS to conduct business, Microsoft has turned this OS into a data collection application, and if I am paying for a Pro or Enterprise license, then I should have the option to say no and remove it." The CES 2026 admission. CES 2026 happened this January, and that's when Jeff Clarke, Dell's vice chairman and chief operating officer, said something remarkable. His exact words were, "From a consumer perspective, they're not buying based on AI, and AI probably confuses them more than it helps them." One of Microsoft's biggest hardware partners just publicly stated that AI is confusing consumers and hurting PC sales, which is not the message Microsoft wanted broadcast at the industry's biggest trade show. Dell announced they're making a bit of a shift from a year ago, where we were all about the AI PC, which meant bringing back their XPS branding, removing AI from marketing materials, and refocusing on battery life, build quality, and displays. That's what people actually care about, not AI assistants that freeze during demos. Move to different operating systems is a phrase that should terrify Microsoft. Bill Gates' role. So where does Bill Gates fit into all of this? And what's his actual involvement with the company he founded? March 2020 saw Gates leave Microsoft's board of directors, and his current official role is part-time technical advisor. But that title doesn't tell the whole story. A Business Insider report from April 2024 revealed that Gates is still intimately involved in Microsoft's operations, participates in recruitment of high-ranking executives, reviews new products, and his advice gets treated as gospel. An anonymous source told Business Insider something revealing when they said, "What you read is not what's happening in reality." And Satya and the entire senior leadership team lean on Gates very significantly, with his opinion sought every time we make a major change. Gates himself confirmed this in September 2025 during an interview with the Wall Street Journal. He admitted he still does product reviews at Microsoft, which takes up maybe 15% of his time, and his exact words were, "I love doing product reviews, and he, meaning Satya Nadella, brings me in to do that because it helps me stay up to date." So here's what that means in practical terms. Bill Gates is still reviewing Microsoft's major products. Windows 11 would absolutely have gone through his product reviews. The AI strategy would have been discussed with him. And yet Windows 11 is struggling with one of the worst adoption rates in Microsoft history. Conclusion: data shows Windows 11 reached 53.7% market share, which means after more than 4 years, it finally holds a bare majority. But that number masks a deeper story about millions of users who can't upgrade because of arbitrary hardware restrictions, users actively trying to remove AI features, enterprise customers who are 10 to 12 points behind previous adoption rates, and hardware partners publicly admitting that AI confuses consumers more than it helps them. Bill Gates, the man who still reviews Microsoft's products and still advises on major decisions, is watching users reject the vision he called the most important advance since the graphical user interface, and he's watching it happen in real time. The pressure isn't financial because Microsoft's stock is fine, the company is profitable, and Gates is obviously not hurting for money. The pressure is reputational, and it comes from watching users reject something you believe in, while your vision of AI-powered computing gets met with tools designed to strip that AI out. Windows 11 will eventually become dominant, probably, simply because Windows 10 support has to end eventually. But what this tells us about Microsoft's ability to understand what users actually want is the real question, because right now, the gap between what Microsoft is building and what users are asking for has never been wider. People just want Windows to be a platform that gets out of the way. Instead, they're getting screenshots every few seconds, AI assistants that freeze on basic queries, hardware requirements that create e-waste, and features they can't even fully uninstall. And that's a problem that no amount of product reviews can solve, no matter who's conducting them.